Somebody says, as a sports fan, we're exhausted by this. Imagine how the Warriors feel. Imagine how the Warriors have felt. And again, not to, play the you were wrong card, but if at any point in time in the past week, your point was, this is no big deal, why are we talking about it? There's a reason why you sit in an audience and you don't make editorial decisions, because you don't get where the story lies. Steve Kerr has said conclusively, this is the single biggest crisis I have faced as a head coach. I mean, that is a pretty revealing statement from him.
It is. And for the texter that says we're exhausted by it, the Warriors are also exhausted by it, which is why they decided they were going to pull themselves up and say no more.
Right.
Like, we're not letting this thing bleed into the regular season. We're going to bring Draymond back into the fold. All boxes have been checked as far as people being on the same page with it, from ownership to Bob Myers to Steve to Jordan Poole, who may be the most important person in this whole thing. How does he feel about the willingness to be a teammate with Draymond Green again? You've got Steph Curry and Kevon Looney and everybody working behind the scenes. Andre Iguodala, we were talking about him in the green room, his ability to lead and get everybody back on the same page. They're exhausted by it too. That's the point, and I think that's why they've taken the stance that they don't want to further any negativity by expanding the punishment beyond where it had already gotten to.
And someone, again, on the Xfinity Mobile text line says, the biggest crisis for Steve Kerr? Like, what about Klay Thompson's injuries? Those are injuries. Injuries are part of the game. And as much as people out there want to insist practice fights are part of the game, they're not part of the game the way that injuries are. And practice fights, even though Steve Kerr admits, like, I've seen 20 of them in my days as a player, in my days as a coach, he's never seen, obviously, it ripple through a locker room the way that this has rippled through the Warriors locker room. And before we start taking calls here, JD, 888-957-9570. Again, you can weigh in on the text line. Our YouTube chatters, you're all going nuts. We are on Twitch. We're on YouTube. Want to say hello. Who we got out here today? Sammy K, Drew Down. We got regulars. We got Otis Bird III, the king of all of our chatters. Hello to all of you. Hello, and thank you for listening. It's great to have you there today. This was a really big deal, and it's something that I think you and I forget. Well, I mean, I don't want to talk for you. It's something that I forget, and I shouldn't. It's something that I know that you know, and you shouldn't forget it. We want to think these teams, all big, tough, strong, well-paid, multimillionaire men who have so much confidence that there's literally no kink in the armor anywhere you look, just nothing but Titan after Titan after Titan after Titan. Sports are fragile. Sports are fragile. Egos, fragile. Reputations, fragile. Locker rooms, fragile. Team chemistry, fragile. Keeping a dynasty, if keeping a dynasty going weren't fragile, there'd be a lot more dynasties in our day and time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And something that I think that fans don't comprehend, and maybe a little bit of that is, on our poorly framing of it, is two things can really tear a franchise apart. Compounding losing after losing after losing season, and in a really weird way, JD, success. Success is one of those other things that can really pull a team apart and expose fragility. Pat Riley, was famous for calling it the disease of more. Mm-hmm. Success happens, everyone asks for more. Everybody wants their hand out. Victory has 1,000 fathers and defeat is an orphan. Dealing with success pulls teams apart all the time. And for this team to have sustained so much success is really something else. And if you're looking for, what's the thread that you could pull on that could maybe start unraveling it, clearly Steve Kerr, Bob Myers, and Steph Curry himself identified this as one of those moments. And if they didn't get around it, it could drown them.
You could make the case, and I would, that the Warriors are one of very few, or maybe the only franchise in the four major sports that could have the situation that unfolded a week ago today and has played out over the last 7 days could handle it in the manner they're handling it, and it actually give them the best chance to succeed moving forward in terms of getting everybody as close to back on the same page as possible, and also winning games in a fashion to where you're still going to be, come April, May, and June, a contender for an NBA championship. It's not, the Orlando Magic could not get away with this.
How do you think the Knicks would be doing this afternoon?
It is, even though it defies logic, I think, to many, the fact that something could be the biggest crisis in a decade, for lack of clarity on the math, biggest crisis in a decade, yet no tangible consequences, or consequences that don't appear, Damon, to match up with the crime, so to speak. So I think this is where the Warriors are putting themselves out there and saying, we're uniquely equipped to handle it this way. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but it's the best possible scenario for us to all heal in a manner where we can move forward and try and run it back one more time to win a title.
Right. And look, the Warriors can't say, hey, look at us. What a bunch of Zamboni drivers we are, making this the smoothest sheet of ice to go. They hit bumps on this. The Warriors have not handled this perfectly. I don't think anybody is cloaked in glory when it comes to just how this entire situation got handled, because it's how they framed it, then it's what it became, and now it's the aftermath, and a lot changed in all of that. They might have even painted themselves into this corner before the leak happened, and they would look hypocritical for backing out of the corner that they said was going to be the way that they were going to kind of play it. So there are no better angels involved really in any of this. Nobody got it all the way right, but there were so many different ways to get it all the way wrong. And the Warriors, I think, avoided all of them, hopefully, on the way to, again, as you said, the season starting on Tuesday, whether you guys have kissed and made up or not. So it is incumbent to kiss and make up whether you want to or not, because that's the true definition of professional, is doing something when you don't want to do it.
Well, and if it can't work and it doesn't work and they wind up in shambles because of it, or they can't win an NBA championship because of it, then you figure out who has to go next July, and not necessarily right now, because doing it right now wrecks 2 seasons.
Right.
Like, you do it right now, this season's in essence done before it starts. Right now, you're giving yourself a chance. And I absolutely believe, Damon, that the Warriors took into account in the calculus of managing all of this the fact that they were going to handle it and had made the decision to handle it a certain way prior to the video leak, where it was, nobody really knows how bad it looked except for us. We're going to keep it internal, and that means, in all likelihood, no suspension, some time away to allow Draymond and Jordan and everybody to heal from it. Once the video came out, though, I think as the days went on, they looked themselves in the mirror and said, we cannot adjust the punishment just because the video looks worse than anything that anybody could have possibly imagined, because at that point it almost devalues Jordan Poole to an extent of, well, you're handling it one way, but now that the video's out, you feel like you got to protect me in a different manner. Well, you should have done it to begin with.
Right.
Hypocrisy as you laid out. But I think part of, no, we're going to put our head down and we're going to let people come at us for not suspending him, but we're not going to be hypocritical to a player that we're about to pay 9 figures.
Church tabernacle right there from my man John Dickinson in for Ray Ratto today. By the way, we're brought to you by BMW Fairfield, now open in the Fairfield Auto Mall. Visit BMWFairfield.com today to book your visit. We had a visit yesterday with Festus Ezeli, and we're about to take all these calls right here. But here's what Festus said yesterday here on the air, talking about how the entire NBA was hoping that this would be what brought the Warriors down.
I saw everybody else in the NBA being excited to see the Warriors have some issue, because this has been a high-character organization for such a long time. And what is the thing that can break this team down? It's something where they feel like, okay, well, the players themselves have to break this down, because The trades haven't affected them. Kevin Durant leaving has not affected them. They still won a championship. So what can we do, and what can happen to break this dynasty down? Because we don't stand a chance of winning. This is how I see it anyway. So everybody got excited because they saw, oh, well, this could be the thing. I don't think this is going to be the thing. Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, Draymond Green is a leader. He's a born leader. And when the time comes, I've seen him play his best basketball after making, being suspended in a Game 5 of in the finals. So I just say that this is just going to be one of those tests. The adversity came early in the season, which you don't expect it to after a championship season, but you grow and you show your true character in moments like this. So I think this is just an opportunity for everybody to understand who the Golden State Warriors are.
And you can't do this with anything or maybe even anyone less than the triumvirate of personalities that Kerr, Curry, and Bob Myers combine to define this team. The three of them, coach, star player, GM, have about as an important a three-man relationship. It's the most important three-man weave in basketball. I mean, it really, truly is, and it will be, they're telling us, what sees the Warriors through this situation.
Yeah, at least gives them a shot to, because there are no guarantees. And I think everybody involved in this situation understands the fact that we may look back months from now or at the end of the season and go, they tried to do it a certain way and that didn't work. Because even if Jordan Poole says, I'm cool with this, I'm ready to move on, I don't want to mess with it, that doesn't mean that there's going to be underlying resentment over the fact that we all make decisions. Hey, you know what? I'm going to roll with this in a given situation in life, but you don't really want to.
Sounds good for a couple of weeks, and then it starts gnawing at you.
And then immediately you're resentful of something that you've agreed to do. So it's kind of, in a manner, it's on you, but you can have that create a negative energy, which can be problematic in its own right. So they're taking that risk that none of that is going to bleed through, and everybody will see it. And then the whole thing falls apart like a house of cards.
The theme of the day is fragile. This is all very, very fragile. This is Robert in Emeryville. Robert, thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. You're on 95.7 The Game. What do you got?
Man, I'm glad I finally got on. I've been waiting for a minute. But
don't complain. No, what do you got, Robert?
None. I just want to say, man, Draymond is from a different era than Jordan Poole. You know what I'm saying? Jordan Poole was born after the year 2000. I feel like a lot of people born after the year 2000 think it's okay to talk and say anything, but as soon as somebody hit him in the mouth, then immediately, you know what I'm saying, they offended. You know what I mean? And Draymond is from an era where if you talk, then you let people know that you're ready for some action. And it's been a known fact that Jordan Poole is a talker. So I think he kind of was feeling his oats and, you know what I'm saying, feeling good about himself and got to talking too much. And then,
let me tell you, there's been a lot of people that I'm sure have chirped back at Draymond throughout the years. I don't know if anyone got served up the knuckle sandwich quite like Jordan Poole. And if he did, if there have been other guys, we don't know about it. But let me tell you, Jordan Poole, he owns Draymond. I mean, Draymond has just told Jordan Poole, like, you know where my buttons are, and you can obviously push them. Like, Draymond is a supreme you-know-what talker from the old school. When you're from the old school, you can't go about proclaiming how old school you are when you got kids from the new school popping you off. Yeah, I mean, you just can't. Like, and what I think will be the ramification of this is that Draymond is always going to be an on-court leader. But that off-court leader, that whole I'm a mentor, you're an apprentice, I think that's gone. I think that's gone now, and I don't know if the younger guys on this team, Kuminga, Moody, Patrick Baldwin Jr., Rollins, the rookies on this team, I don't know if any of them are ever going to look up at Draymond on this pedestal of leadership and, man, I want to have a career, like his. I'd like to be successful. I'd like my years with the Warriors to put as many banners in the rafters as his has. Sure. But is this someone that I really want to model myself after? Is this someone who I can count on there Can I really count on him to be there for me? And Draymond has created that doubt. And he's going to have to prove to everyone that they can count on him again. And how he goes about doing that, I do not know. I really I don't know the path out of this. And I don't know if any of them do. They're trusting everyone to sort of find their own level in this.
Yeah, it's not going to be awkward. Does Draymond come at somebody verbally in the same way that maybe he would in the past? Because now you don't want it to reach an escalation point. Not that something like this would happen again, but is the chatter different? Is it chatter about basketball that's now acceptable? Maybe chatter about other things, contracts, whatever, personality types? Because I do get, when this all broke, it was not a surprise to me, given the history of their relationship, which has been put on the record, but also just the fact that, Draymond believes in a code and the way you carry yourself and hard work. And I could see Draymond looking at Jordan Poole and from a good place thinking, hey, man, I understand you're about to get paid a lot of money, but you still got to work as hard as you've been working. That doesn't mean that you just, you get cute and you're, prancing around and you're acting like you're already Steph Curry. So I'm going to come at you hard because I want you to be able to understand that this is just the start of the process. It's a great achievement and you've earned it. It's not about not earning it. It's about continue to keep earning it, because that level is what continues to help us win NBA championships, to where you're not somebody that plays in the first round and has to get benched in the second round because of your defense and things like that. Like, don't think that you've completely arrived in that manner. Doesn't make what Draymond did right. I want to make sure I point that out, but I do think that is underlying in how we got to this point a little bit.
It sounded like he was incredibly upset by the fact that Jordan Poole and Moses Moody thought themselves shooting equals in a three-point shooting contest that took place over in Japan. And you even heard Clay playfully say, hey, Jordan, hold that loss. They were happy to beat down the young guys. Every older brother's happy to keep the younger brother at bay. The way that Draymond took glee in that, Draymond couldn't win a game of horse against, I'm guessing, a lot of people in the audience, much less other NBA players who are shooters. Draymond's a bad shooter, full stop. Jordan Poole is infinitely better at Draymond in that regard, to the point where he thinks himself on the level with Steph and Clay. And Draymond, get on our level. I dare you. You can't hang in the shooter. There's a shooter side of the gym, and Draymond, I don't care how much cred you got, you ain't on this side of the gym. And I think that pissed Draymond off. I think he was very territorial about Jordan Poole thinking his reputation now belongs side by side with Steph and Curry and with Steph and Clay. And I don't think Steph and Clay need that watchdog for their reputations anymore.
No. They definitely don't. And I also think there's a pecking order, or in essence a tier system of, it's the Steph, Clay, Draymond tier. Maybe Iguodala hangs out in that tier as well. And then you draw a line and it's everybody else. Maybe Kevon Looney gets invited up once in a while to hang.
Wiggs, come on up.
Wiggs here and there. But the rest, even for those guys that haven't been there for all four of the championships, it's a matter of invite only. Or act and conduct yourself a certain way when spoken to, and you can join the party.
Right.
Doesn't make it right, but all of those dynamics, I wonder how much they have to change now because of this incident.
Everyone here is equal, but some are more equal than others. Right. This is Scott in Oakland. Thank you, Scott. What do you got?
Hey, man, appreciate y'all taking my call. I got 2 points, man, I want to make. First, Draymond Green, you didn't show this aggression with Tristan Thompson the 2 times that he put his hands on you. You didn't show that aggression towards him. And 2, my second point is, this whole thing is Jordan Poole's fault, man. I'm gonna tell you why it's Jordan Poole's fault. Where we grew up at, the first rule your mama taught you was don't never let nobody put their hands on you without hitting them back. All right? Draymond Poole, he talked all that jazz. He opened his mouth. He bumped his gums. Guess what? You got to be ready to defend yourself, bro. You got to. You can't stand there with your hands down. You push that dude.
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna give Jordan the benefit of the doubt only because that's same team right there. It's same team. And for two guys who got reputations of being talkers and trash talkers, there's an element of same team there that didn't have Jordan in the moment. And you can say all you want about the shove, okay? Who's the first guy to touch the other guy? It was Draymond Green. I'm going to tell you right now, Scott, you said that your dad told you don't ever let another man put his hands on you. One of the things I'm going to teach my kids is you don't ever let another man step to you like that. Like, to me, the first act of aggression was now you're standing underneath my chin.
Yeah.
That's the first act of aggression in my mind. And I'm not letting anybody stand underneath my chin trying to get up in my kitchen. Like that. No. So that to me, the rubber does not meet the road there. I don't think like Jordan Poole is responsible for this because he wasn't ready to fight, yet you're also saying that he threw the first punch. So if the guy wasn't ready to fight, how did he throw the first punch? Come on.
Can't have it both ways on that front. David.
Just can't.
No.
But thank you for the call. Thank you for listening. Gene in Oakland. Hello, Gene.
Hey, fellas. Please hear me out on this. As I've said many times, I always have to preface anything about Draymond is I love Draymond, okay? I mean, I've gone to bat for him for many years now, but I'm deeply disappointed in this decision by the organization. I really think for everybody's sake, all right, including Draymond's and especially Jordan's, he needed to be punished for what he did, all right? What he's gotten now is he's got a get-out-of-jail-free card, and yeah, so he's gone away and he's reflected on it and he's listened to a couple of Deepak Chopra tapes or whatever. But do we truly believe that this is never going to happen again? I mean, he doesn't have an anger problem; he has a rage problem. All right. And then from Poole's standpoint, 2 days ago, I was reading. He didn't want anything to do with Draymond. He didn't want to talk to him. He was so angry. Now, what changed his mind? Did the team come up to him and say, "Just accept it or else"? Or did they sweeten the pot for this extension? I don't know what happened.
Well, Gene, here's the thing. We're running towards a break here. You bring up very good points. I don't think any of us will really understand the inner workings of how all of this happened, but I guarantee you that Steph Curry, talking about what really matters, set a lot of guys back on track.